morning. How is everybody today? Let's see here. We've got Kara, Daryl, Les, Michael, Chris. Let's see. Chris, welcome back. Fantasy football season is over, so we've got you back. It ended abruptly for the Seattle Seahawks last week. Seemed like a fantasy. So welcome all of you who are on the stream, and to those of you here in the U.S. and to those of you abroad. We get you from all over the world, and I really enjoy that. And as usual, I'd like to give a big shout out to my moderators, Denny Rudell, Kevin Green, and of course the amazing Candy. I am everywhere overhauls. And let's see who else. Hey, Clinton. Clinton comes right out of the box with a $2, an $2. I'm not sure what that A is from. Maybe Australia. I'm guessing. And thank you for that. And let's get. You'll notice I'm wearing the hoodies. We finally got in the hoodies, and just between you and me, I'm going to go to the Teespring website probably today or maybe tomorrow at the latest. I'm going to lower the price of the hoodies. I'm going to lower the price of all the products, probably the hoodies mostly, because they're I think they're close to 40 or something. But I'm going to lower the price temporarily, and then you can still use your 10% live stream checkout code and get another 10% off of the lowered price. So you're going to be, if you want to grab a hoodie in the next couple days, watch the price drop, and that'll be the time to get in there. And then I'll ease it back up to the usual price. And of course, if you want to pick up one of these while you're at it, I'm not going to fight you. How do you folks like the different look? I'm not in front of the 150 today. I'm in front of the 100. These are fish that are more of a moderate size, and some of them will get large over time, but they're not like the big beast that I have in the 150. So if you like this look, if you like this background instead of the 150, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll be able to set up like this from now on. And so let's see here. 35 watching, 8 likes. Okay, let's get that up. Let's share it. Tell all your friends. Get on the phone. Get the word out. So let's talk about what's been going on. So you folks know that I released another Flooville video. And I hate to beat up on that canister, but sometimes it needs a little bit of a whooping. I contacted Flooville. I talked to him about it. Of course, I received that canister as a gift, and so I don't really have all the paperwork and everything. So I'm kind of stuck. So hey, too bad for me. I told him, I said, hey, look, if you send me some valves, I'll make a video and I'll let them know. I'll say, hey, you took care of me, and we're all good. Because somebody commented under this video that they had contacted Flooville and they had replaced all of the leaking valves, and so I thought I'd give it a shot. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I mean, they're a good company. They're a solid company. Any product, and let me just put this out. There's a disclaimer. Any product that runs 24/7 with a high pressure type of system eventually is going to start to weaken in some area, and probably give in. The analogy I've used before. I mean, imagine your car being on and running 24/7, never turning off. I mean, what kind of issues would you have? So certainly some hoses would start to break and crack and what have you, and things would come loose. So I'm not too upset. That is the only filter I have on this tank behind me. But one thing to consider, and I'll throw this out there, and you folks tell me what you think. Instead of getting a Flooville, what if you picked up for the price of that Flooville, four Sun 404s or four Sun 704Bs for close proximity. Use two of them and had two that you could just cannibalize for spare parts. You would, or have as a backup. You would never. You'd probably have canisters running for forever. I mean, without for the initial same price. And anyway, just things have been going through my mind. But overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give the Flooville canister about an 8. It's a solid unit. Maybe it was more solid a few years ago. Maybe they've started to cut back a little bit. They are getting some heavy competition from other canisters out there, so they're not they're not the big fish anymore. Pun intended. They're just not the big fish anymore. So other canisters are coming in and forcing them to look at their profit margins and hopefully they will not cut back on the quality of their build, because if they do that, that'll come back and bite them. Hello, Sharpie Models and Aquatics. Leah Jet. Hey, Candy. Good to see you here. And let's see who else we got. Take a look here at the chat. Now, by the way, folks, I'm still experimenting with live stream. And so if I do lose you for some reason, if for any reason we get cut off, I will get back on within 5 minutes. So just come on back and I'll have it up and running. And all right. Michael Nichols, I'll get back to your question as we get towards the end. I'll pick up your question. I'll get back to it. And GP was first today. And hey, big thank you, Kaylers. Thank you, Kaylers. I appreciate it. And I see you got that coffee cup there. All right. All righty. By the way, anyone who's in the U.S. and does a super chat today, I'm going to send you out one of these gigantic stickers. You got to send me your address, though. Send your address to ben.o.cichlid, ben.o.cichlid at Gmail. And if you're one of the super chats today, and I'm going to send you the folks over at Teespring. I asked for some stickers. I thought I was going to get some stickers that were, little stickers. They sent me these sheets that basically are the logo on the sweatshirts and the tees, basically the channel logo with "We all learn from each other" written under it. This is a massive sticker. Do not put it in the back window of your car because you will get pulled over for obstructed view. But it would look good on the inside door of a cabinet. The cabinet, put it on the inside of so when you open it up, you got this. Hey. So anyway, so you super chatters, send me your mailing address today, and I will go ahead. And I thank all of those who throw a little money into the super chat. I appreciate that. So the Flooville video, I saw some mixed reviews. There were some folks in there that said that they had been running Floovilles for years without an issue, and I get it, and I think that's great. I think that's awesome. I also saw a good number of people saying I had the same issue, and I found that a little bit alarming and disturbing, and so I think Flooville needs to be aware of it. I've certainly made them aware of it, politely, respectfully, and professionally. But we'll see where that goes. Overall, the response to that video was pretty good. I thought I got a pretty good response. And of course, I had another video, which I guess this was just a rant week for me, a week of rants. I went over to Petsmart, and this is something I had rolling around in my head for weeks, maybe months. I said, I've got two Petsmarts. I'm sort of right in the middle of two Petsmarts. Let me go ahead and see if there's, are they more like a McDonald's, where if you go into a McDonald's anywhere in the country, you're going to get probably the same Big Mac, or are they more, do they have more of an independent vibe to each one of them? And I was really kind of shocked at the difference, and primarily the disease, the ick that I saw, accompanied by filtration systems that were shared, and probably worst of all, and most telling was the attitude of the staff. A very dismissive, we don't care. We're busy talking to each other right now. Please don't disturb us. We don't want to talk to you about how we filter our tanks. And it really was we treat the tanks on Friday. Now get lost. And I said, okay, all right, I got it. So, and it was really a shame because they did have some nice fish in that second PetSmart that I went to actually had a better selection with regards to more hard to find or exotic fish. The first one had certainly a wider selection. They probably had twice as many tanks, but the first one had an independent filtration system for the feeder fish, which I thought was great. And the tanks looked good. And the employee running the department was very friendly and very forthcoming. Now, she gave me a tip. She said that PetSmart has a store that has redone all of its fish area, all of its fish department. And that store is not too far from me. And it is their sort of aquatic flagship, if you will. So I'm going to visit that store and I'm going to see if there's a big difference and what it is that makes that, what is their concept or idea of an upgrade. She told me the tank presentations are different. The structure and build of the tanks are different. The filtration is going to be a little different. So I'm anxious to go there. I'll probably go there tomorrow. So look for a video coming up on another visit to a PetSmart, and we'll see if it's because sometimes if they do something like that, if a store invests in something like that, and they do it as a sort of pilot program, and then it's popular, it actually ups the sales of that department, then they will export that idea out to the other stores. So I'm hoping that's what they have going on. I'm not a PetSmart basher. I'm not a big box store basher. My only complaint about them is when they do neglect pets. Otherwise, it is a go-to place if you need if you need some filters, you need a quick heater, a quick light or something. It's a great place to go and find what you want. And so they do have a purpose in the hobby, and they serve a purpose. And probably my only other complaint would be that they have made it very hard on local fish stores. They have been a very strong and competitive force, and have actually ended up with local fish stores just dying. But I'll tell you something. Isn't that to some degree, and I hate to sound brutal here, but keep in mind my professional background is 32 years in business consulting. So that to some degree is on the local fish store. They should have seen this train coming and immediately jumped onto social media, got into the shipping and selling of fish and products, through social media, and also expanded their market penetration that way. Look at Nolan. Nolan's aquarium, not far from me. He has both he cut down overhead by going into a shopping like a industrial area. So he got an industrial space. He's got a nice store. They sell supplies. Every time I've gone there, it's busy. And he also has a social presence on Instagram and places like that. So on the one hand, I don't like that these big box stores have beaten up the local fish stores. On the other hand, some of that is on the local fish store. They have to, and in every business, boy, you've got to be hustling. You got to be on your toes these days, because I have a son that's very involved in the industry, in the computer industry, software industry up in the San Francisco area. And he said that a lot of things that we are now buying for our computers are going to be apps. They're just going to be apps that you can download, like opening up like starting your own web page. You have to hire high-end people now, and maybe hire some folks in India or what. These days, he says, not too long from now, apps are going to take that. So everything is changing really, really fast. So, man, we got to stay sharp. So at any rate, that was my trip to PetSmart, and hopefully, I don't know if I mentioned the situation to the PetSmart in Monrovia. Maybe someone that is involved in that store is going to watch that video and start to be more alert about removing sick fish and warning people that, hey, look, because we share a filtration system, if you buy a fish from this tank, even though they don't have it, they're probably can't. You should quarantine them when you get home. And if you don't have a quarantine tank, we don't recommend you buy right now because we are contaminated. We have sick fish right now. So I don't think that's going on. I don't think that's happening. So at any rate, look for that PetSmart flagship video. I think it'll be interesting, and I'm very interested to see how they built the aquarium. She said the aquariums are not that slanted, angled aquarium that they've been using, and I'm going to see what they've done with their filtration. That could be very interesting. So let's see here. Kristen Kirby, I went to PetSmart yesterday, got my first betta. They redid the fish tanks, looks good, but no one was really around. Yeah, sometimes they're light staffed, and that's the deal. And you got to go look for somebody to help you. But if the tanks were in good shape and the fish was healthy, I mean, I think they've got the battle. At least they're paying attention. Hello, Tom from beautiful Malibu, California. I really appreciate that you stop by on a regular basis, Tom. I love where you're at. You know that, and let's see if anything else jumps out at me, and I will be going back over these in a second. If I missed any super chats, please remind me. Let me see here, Bruno Lobo. Hello, Bruno. I stopped going to the big pet stores in Switzerland. They are very small for African cichlids, and the employees don't know even the basics of fish keeping, like the nitrogen cycle. Well, that's another issue, and I think we see it here locally in the States. There isn't these employees are jumping from department to department. The thing I liked in the Pasadena PetSmart is I think they had one person assigned to fish. That was her department. She owned it, and she even had a little sign that I showed that had her name on it. And I didn't ask her any technical questions, and so I didn't test her knowledge, and that's something I would normally do to somebody. But do they know about the nitrogen cycle? Chances are not. Do they tell every person that buys fish that they should quarantine? I really doubt that. So, and isn't that really some of the most basic things we can talk about when it comes to buying fish? Let's see. Kaler's Aquatics, both my local PetSmart and Petco have revamped their aquatic areas, much improved, and that includes staff that are educated and helpful. Now that is awesome. That is really good news. And like I said, very often a store will do something and if they see profit, I mean, come on, that's what drives the store, profit. They're making a lot of profit on dog food. So they have aisles and aisles of dog food, a lot of profit on dog and cat toys and cat food. Lots of aisles of that. So the profit margin is what probably determines floor space and also resources, such as training and staff. So if they start seeing some profit, and if those programs are working, they're going to expand those areas both in personnel and also in training. Fingers crossed, because let's face it, I mean, they are the 800-pound gorilla and when it comes to pets these days. So if they can up their game, it'll be a win-win for all of us. Inventory King. Hey, Paul. How are you, buddy? Morning, Ben. How big is the white-lipped snow? Well, let's see. Come here, buddy. Come here. Hey, I'm talking to you. Come here. Usually he comes when I do this because he thinks I'm going to give him food. He's hanging out way on the far end. I would say he's pushing 5.5. Here he is. There he goes. Whoop, there he is. He's kind of the boss. He's kind of the boss of this tank. Nobody messes with him. And again, the word placidochromis can be a little bit deceiving. They're not as placid as you would think. So he is a tough guy. and I would say he's pushing 5.5, maybe 5.5. And I think they can get up to 10 inches, right? At that point, I'm going to have to either move him to the 150, which by then, I mean, that Venusis will be 12 inches maybe. The eye biter will be about 12 inches. That'll be interesting. Or maybe I'll create another aquarium. Maybe leave him in here and move out some of the other fish when he gets that big. So so what else has been going on? What's coming down the line? I have an update to the Hawk Hotel. There's a room upgrade for the Hawks. They joined the hotel frequent flyer program, and they upgrade. They qualified for an upgrade. So what I did is I followed the tips and the advice that some of you gave me, the tips that were practical. I couldn't go out and get a 200-gallon aquarium and 3 other females, but I was able to follow some of the tips. So I gave them a bit of a bare bottom area and put a clay pot in there. And you can see the video. It's just something short and nothing real significant, but kind of fun. Just kind of a fun video. I like putting out just a little fun video every now and then. So keep an eye out for Hawk Hotel. I think it's going to post tomorrow morning, and take a look at it if you're inclined to. And we'll see. I haven't seen any breeding activity or any. The male hawk is certainly looking good. I mean, he's got some real nice blue on the top of the head, on the face. He's starting to get some nice blue in the body. And the female is very calmed down. They're both getting along perfectly. She was very subdued at first, not even eating. And then she became active and aggressive. And now she's very calm, and they're both swimming around and just sort of minding their own business. So someone said to feed them certain kinds of food that would get them going. I mean, I don't know. We'll see after this weekend's water change. Maybe that'll get them going. Hey, Denny, no problems, my friend. You missed the shout out that included your picture. I did a shout out that included a photo of your mug there, and I thanked you for what you do. So I'm glad you're here. Anyone who serves as a moderator is appreciated. Okay, so let's get into today's topic. And today's topic is how come when things look like you've got them together, it looks like you've got them together, and you put fish into your new tank and they die. And this is something that if there's probably one thing that kills off fish keepers right out of the gate, it's an immediate die-off. And you give somebody you give somebody a tank as a gift, or you encourage them to get into fish keeping, and they set things up. They think they've got it, and they're all excited. They bring home some fish, and within a week the fish are all dead, and now they're sitting in this sort of loss, this upset. And so why is that? I mean, what can we do to prevent that? And a lot of you watching who are veteran fish keepers already know a lot about this, and some of you know a lot more about this than I do. And but if I had to say, if there was one thing that the one piece of advice I would give to anyone who's starting up a tank, the key word in all of it is patience. It's got to be patience. Now, if you look at this graph here, you'll see that what we're talking about here is a couple months. We're looking at almost 2 complete months before things are actually stable enough, according to this graph, where you could actually safely start to add fish that you really are going to care about. And I mean, some people will put fish in there to help the process move along. And One of the fish that are recommended are black skirt tetras. Apparently, black skirt tetras can take a tremendous amount of water variation. They don't recommend goldfish or feeder fish because they can introduce parasites, unless you're going to be keeping goldfish, I guess. But in the articles I saw, black skirt tetras, they said one or two of those, when you start to see the one or two of those added to the tank to help the whole process along. And if we look at an increased graphic here, we look at this thing, you can see what's happening here. This also is partly my concern with these quick start products, because if you add a lot of bacteria, that bacteria has to be fed and it has to be oxygenated. So put a quick start product in there, like your Fritz Turbo or something like that. But you better have something that is creating ammonia, or else that bacteria is just simply going to it's just going to die off. So we have to have a combination of if you're going to do a quick start, you have to have that quick start together with something that is ammonia producing. Some people go out and buy ammonia and put it into the tank. That's never been my way of doing it. And other people will use fish as sort of starter fish, and that's been my approach. My approach is to go ahead and set up the tank, and my tip is add media from an established tank. Be sure that you've treated the water. In other words, add something that's not going to kill off the bacteria in the media. So have treated water. Put have some prime in there, maybe some of that quick start, and then I add maybe a mesh bag full of substrate from an established tank, because there's a lot of beneficial bacteria in there. A piece of sponge from an established tank, a sponge filter that's been running in an established tank or in sump. Add that. And for example, when you set up a quarantine tank, you can pull a sponge filter. Fill the quarantine tank with half tank water, established tank water, half regular water, just like you'd be doing a water change. Put in your sponge from an established tank that is loaded with bacteria, and you can add fish immediately. You have an instant cycle. So that's been my most successful method, is to go ahead and use things that I've pulled from an established tank. Some of you don't have that. Maybe a local fish store can let you have some sponges that are in a tank, maybe some substrate that you can bring back to them. So you do have different ways to go with this. Now, you measure the ammonia and you wait until that ammonia is absolute zero. You measure the nitrite, because both of those kill. Both of those can kill your fish fairly quickly. So measure those two, and when they're at absolute zero, you will start to see an increase in nitrate. You're there. Now you're there. However, if you then add too many fish too fast, and the ammonia production of those fish outpaces the ability of the bacteria to consume that ammonia, convert it. The two types of bacteria, one that converts ammonia to nitrite and the one that converts nitrite to nitrate. If you put too many fish too fast and that bacteria is overrun, you're going to have an ammonia, a jump in ammonia and nitrite, and that's going to be very hard and possibly kill off your fish. So again, we're back to the word patience. When you've measured out zero ammonia, zero nitrite, and you notice 5 to 10 nitrate, start adding more fish, 2, 3 at a time max, in my opinion. And then, as it shows on the graph here, do a water change. But that water change is not going to eliminate nitrates. It's just going to keep them under control. And those nitrates will always be building if you have a healthy tank that is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So with water changes, you can actually get that under control. You can of course also get it under control with the addition of algae and plants, because algae and plants will consume your nitrates. Behind me, in the tank behind me here, if you can see it, back here, that's a very large algae scrubber. It's an algae scrubber from Santa Monica Filtration that is growing very thick green algae. I clean it out every week. And before I clean it out, I just have it open in the tank for about 2 or 3 hours. And I let the clown loaches and the albino pleco go to town on it. They love it. Everybody picks at it. And I also leave the algae that's accumulated on the wall of the tank. I leave it there, and the pleco has it cleaned up and pristine in about 30 minutes. So they love eating that algae. But that algae is very nutrient rich, but it also reduces nitrates and releases oxygen. So green algae is actually a really good thing. And of course, plants. I can't keep plants in this tank because they would get destroyed immediately. What I can do is I can harvest algae, and also, like in the 150, if I wanted to, I could put some plants in the sump. I have to determine whether or not the amount of work it would take to do that, and the volume of plants that I would need to see a reduction in nitrates, if that would make a difference, because you need a lot of plants to reduce nitrates. Now, also keep in mind that if you don't take good care of your plants and they start to die and rot, they become a source of ammonia and a source they become a source of nitrate. They start to rot and they become part of the problem. So your plants have to be kept healthy. Otherwise, you're actually contributing to the problem. Interestingly enough, the ammonia that is coming from your fish, and I was under the belief that it was coming from rotting food, and also from from waste, from essentially the fish poop, right? Waste, just rotting. And apparently the ammonia, the primary source of ammonia is right from the gills, right from the gills of the fish. These fish, and I believe in particular African cichlids, are releasing ammonia constantly as part of their process, part of their living process. So they are releasing ammonia right from from their body. It's not just through the waste that they're releasing. Now, let's give credit where credit is due. I want you folks to visit cichlid-forum.com, cichlid-forum.com. This article, and I've given you the entire address, so you can just go right to the article, even though browsing around at the website is a lot of fun because they have an incredible amount of information. But this article is very, very good. It gets into it and gets into more detail that I'm covering right now. But I recommend that you take a look at it. It's just a great article. Download it. Give Cichlid Forum a shout out. They don't charge anything. They don't require you to be any kind of a member or pay anything. It's just a place that is a wealth of information that is available to any fish keeper. And just like just like the Facebook page, even though cichlid is in the name, they have valuable information for all species, for all types of fish. And this article, I think, this article right here is amazing. It has great information. And at the bottom of the article, it has a link on how to jumpstart the cycle. And it pretty much concurs with what I said, the jumpstart, the tips of adding substrate from an established tank, adding filter media from an established tank, things of that nature, is really one of the best and most proven ways. As long as you don't kill off the bacteria in bringing it over, by putting it into untreated water or rinsing it out, under the tap, or making some type of mistake like that, and then you end up with a very, you end up defeating the whole process of it. So, my method, number one, patience. 2, make sure that I'm circulating the water. Put a bubbler in there. Put a power head so you're breaking at the surface, because the oxygen will help the bacteria to develop. Next, use something from an established tank. And last, add fish on a gradient and let them feed the bacteria gradually. And then as the bacteria colony grows, they start adding more fish on a gradual basis. And you will have a very successful start to an aquarium. And the chances of staying in the hobby and not being killed off are going to be much greater. I hate to see posts at the Facebook page, or sometimes under one of my videos, Ben, I was so excited, I added fish and they all died. And I just hate to see that, because it means, here's somebody who's probably going to be knocked out of the hobby, and we're going to see that equipment for sale on Craigslist for a bargain. And some of the equipment that I have bought over the years on Craigslist has been from people who said, I just, didn't have the time anymore, or I had something happen or whatever. And so I'm just selling it all. So, all right. So take a look at that article if you can. I think it's a great article, and I highly recommend Cichlid Forum in general. It's just a great web spot. So let's get into a little bit of the my favorite part of the live stream, of course, the Q&A. Let's get into some of your comments. I'd love to hear your comments on how you've successfully cycled a tank. I'd like to hear your comments on everything that I've talked about today. Your comments on big box stores, on breeding, and I am serious when I say we all learn from each other. What you see here, everything's backwards on this. We all learn. We all learn from each other is what it says here. So I would definitely want to get your take. I'd love to hear your comments on it. So let's see here in the comments, and I hope I didn't miss a super chat. I don't. When I'm sharing things with you, I don't look at the scrolling chat, because it can be very distracting. And I want to say, hey, how you doing, and hi and hello, and hey, I'm glad you're here. And I'd be doing it every 2 minutes, and so it would be a little bit distracting. So if I've missed some of you and I haven't said hello back, it's not because I don't care, and it's not because you're not important. You are important. So let's see here. Let's see. Craig Bales, hey Ben, Craig says he found a fry about 1.5 centimeters in my aquarium. You think it will be okay? How big are your other fish? I think it'll be okay for them. Was that cruel? They will eat him. They will, if they can catch him, they'll eat him. Sometimes the fry can hide long enough to become substantial enough to not be eaten or to be accepted by the other fish, but they will chase him down. It is in their nature to go after small wiggly things. And if you really want to keep him, I would suggest setting up a little 5-gallon. Throw an air stone in there, and if you really want to keep them. Unfortunately, these fish are a bit heartless when it comes to that. Let's see here. I've seen this before, Chris. Chris Palmer, Petsmart tip, always have them price match their own website. Example, Seachem products are half the price. That's a real smart tip. And in today's world, right, you've got your phone with you. Go ahead and pull up their webpage, show it to them, and you can walk out of there with a good deal. I think it even applies to store-to-store specials and also canisters and filters. Let's see here. Alan O, I think from Milwaukee. Alan O, Milwaukee. Petsmart sold me a Flooville FX6 for $199. That's a great deal. That's a real good deal. And if you watch my videos, take the money you saved and pick up a set of valves. Pick up an input, output, and a purge valve, the one at the bottom, and just have them in, on the shelf. And if they ever blow out on you, if they ever start leaking, you can swap them out right away. And I give that as a hard-won experience. Let's see. Night Rider. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Night Rider. That Craig should separate them out. If he can catch them. The little guys don't know that you're trying to save them. So they'll get they'll wedge underneath a piece of decor or something, and it's going to be a big production to catch a little guy like that. And while trying to catch him, you will expose him. You'll put him out in the open. And at that point, you're off to the races. Cichlid Center. Here's one thing I don't understand about the cycle. Say I have a tank with 5 fish for a couple months. If I add 10 fish and then 3 die because it was cycled for 4 but not 14. There was a person who used to come to my channel, and I ended up blocking him because he got real nasty with another one of the viewers. But he said that he would add 25 fish at once, and would do a daily water change, and was adding like quick start products and things like that, and that he had success doing that. So I don't know. I mean, what you're saying is yes. Will it sort of cycle back down to the amount of fish that can feed the bacteria and fish balance? Will it die off to that level? I don't know, because while they're there, of course, those extra fish, they are creating more ammonia, so there's more bacteria populating. That's why for me it's always a slow addition process. I don't like adding a large number at once, because it can shock the system and you can outrun your bacteria. That's just my take on it. Now, if you added that many fish at once, and then we're doing, let's say, a daily water change and a daily, maybe every other day treating with prime, you probably could get away with it. The prime would neutralize the ammonia and the nitrate or the nitrite enough so that you could sort of weather it long enough so that everything would sort of settle down if you did it that way. So I guess, again, the daily or every other day water change, 50%, adding prime. I mean, it's sort of a very labor intensive way of doing it. I would prefer just to add fish on a gradient, a little bit at a time. And you know what? The fish will tell you if you're adding too many, because you'll notice that they're acting stressed. They're at the back of the tank. Their fins might collapse. They're not taking food. They're acting. They're not coming to the front to greet you. They're not going to the top when they think it's a feeding time. They'll tell you, "Hey, look, we're under stress," and you'll know that you have to dial it back, and you better add maybe a little more quick start, or you better do a water change, add some prime, take some measures. But I think the slow addition of fish is the way to go. And eventually you'll have your 20, 25 fish in there, but just not all at once. It's patience. It's really patience. Boy, oh boy, we get impatient. I've done it. I've gotten impatient, and I've suffered. I've paid the I've paid the price. So let's see here. I hope that answered your question, Cichlid Center. I love that name, by the way. Let me see if I can scroll this thing without going too fast. Boy, oh boy, have I heard that question a lot. Somebody's asking, Tony Jovevsky, how many haps and peacocks can I have in a 125-gallon tank? I hear that question for a 60, for a 75, for a 200. Every week I hear it 2 or 3 times. There's no pat answer. What kind of fish are you going to get? How fast do they grow? How much filtration are you going to have? How often are you going to service the filtration? How many water changes are you going to be doing? How often? What percentage of the water are you going to be changing? It's a fluid, and the pun is intended. It is a fluid situation, and there is no one answer. Your 2-inch or 1-inch per gallon rule is nonsense, because in 3 months, those fish are all going to be probably twice as large. So at any rate, there is no, I can't give you a one size fits all answer to that question. It would be anyone who does probably hasn't been through what I've been through. Sharpie's models and aquatics, you are right on the money. A tank will only have enough bacteria in it to support the ammonia created by its current load. When I add an extra load to the tank with more fish, I add some more bottled bacteria. That is great advice, Sharpies, and it's the truth. It's the truth. If you think that you're going to add 3 more canisters and 2 sponge filters to increase the bacteria, you want to increase the bacteria, increase the ammonia production, increase the food, increase what's feeding the bacteria, and then hope that the bacteria catches up fast enough and doesn't stress the fish. KG, an old dirty gym sock that has been in the sump. And thank you, KG. Anything that KG says, take with a huge grain of salt. Denny's Aquatics, I like the turbo start or stability and do a very slow fish cycle. I'm with you, Denny. And of course, turbo is that's the Fritz product, right? The turbo start from Fritz. I really like Fritz products, and they used to have the best antibiotics, and I'm not even sure if they can sell them anymore in the US. I don't know why. GP, you shouldn't add a lot of fish all at once. True. People talk about mini spikes. Let me tell you something. A mini spike will give you mini death. Ammonia is very hard on the fish. You can see red in the gills. You can see them acting listless. It's very, very hard on the fish. So avoid that altogether. Okay. Kaler's Aquatics. I had to use that method when my 55 ruptured the other night. Oh my God. I mean, are we talking about like it broke, the glass broke? Or did you have a one of the seams burst? Did you start getting a fast leak? That's horrible. The other night, water media, 20 large cichlids. Whoa. But you got an instant cycle. Awesome. Yeah, I tell you, the substrates, and if you can transfer over that bacteria rich substrate and filter media right away, you could fill up a tub. You could fill up a big Rubbermaid tub, and and you'd be good to go. You'd have an instantly cycled aquarium, so you would be in good shape. GP throws $10 into the pot. Thank you, sir. You are very welcomed. Now, you know what? I think I have your address, but send it to me again so I can get you one of these stickers. Just don't put it on the back window of your car. All right. Let's see some more of these comments. I've got some comments from last week too that I want to take up. Let's see here. Last week, Cichlid Central threw $5 at the channel and asked what is considered a heavily stocked 65-gallon tank for African cichlids. Okay, those of you watching, I mean, why don't you jump in and answer that question? What would you consider to be a heavily stocked 65-gallon tank? Now, again, we're getting into areas like what kind of fish? I mean, do you have a bunch of Venusis in there that are going to get over 10 inches? Or do you have some red caps, maybe some Lethrinops that are not going to grow hardly at all? They're not going to put a lot of strain on there. So again, it's a fluid situation that has no one size fits all. But you folks, go ahead. You folks with experience, you folks chime in, and let's hear what you have to say about that. Question being, what is considered heavily stocked 65-gallon for African cichlids? I mean, off the top of my head, 25, 30 fish of medium-sized peacocks. I think you're starting to get on the edge. I think I'm pronouncing this right. Nittany fins. Do you gravel vac once a week with a moderately stocked tank? Yes. I vac every time I do a water change, which is once a week. Now, just a humbling tip I can give you. Maybe I'm being stupid about that. And I'll tell you what I mean. If I was testing my water on a more regular basis, maybe I would know that my nitrates are low enough where I could actually skip a week and move the process over to every 2 weeks. So if you're testing your water more frequently, you can then dial in your water changes. I've been doing it every week. It's part of my routine. My fish are doing well, and so I'm very reluctant to change anything when things are doing well. That's just me. But there's another side to that. If I was doing regular testing and I saw my nitrates go from 15 to 20 or from 20 to 25 or 30, assuming my test kits are accurate, and that's a subject for a whole other video, then perhaps doing water changes when the testing indicates it. So maybe I'm working too hard. So, but to answer your question, I vacuum every week. I deep vacuum the crushed coral. I get in there, but this sand that you see here, this black sand, the power heads, of which I have one over there and one over there, those power heads are suspending the waste and moving it towards the intake of the filter. So I really don't have a lot of vacuuming to do here. There's one dead spot in the back corner, and that dead spot I just scoop up. And when you vacuum sand, you stay about 1 inch to ½ inch above the sand level. Otherwise, you'll suck sand in. So, but yes, every week for me right now. Last week, Sharpies Models and Aquatics said, hold on here. Let me do one adjustment here. Hold on, please. I'm going to do one adjustment to the power source here, so hold on, bear with me. For some reason, I'm getting a low low battery message, which makes no sense, but I'm going to fix it right now. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. All righty. So, Sharpies, models, and aquatics. It's, let's see, one of those things where the marketing has got, okay. So we had some very interesting comments last week, and one of them had to do with Sharpies, models, and aquatics, talking about how he wasn't entirely convinced that media was even a significant factor in the life of beneficial bacteria. His comment was, it's one of those things where the marketing has got confused with facts. Ginger, he was talking to Ginger. I'm not even sure the bacteria live in the media. Holy moly. That's a very powerful comment. That's what I would call a viewpoint that could be a very disruptive viewpoint in the aquatic industry, and if the manufacturers of media have if they have an enforcer, they probably already have a hit ordered, and so just watch yourself, because there's probably an order to take you out. And you know what, though? I get where he's coming from. And I get where you're coming from, because one of the things mentioned in the article that I referred to earlier, this article here, one of the things mentioned in it was the use of substrate as a way of rapidly cycling a tank. And if that is a viable solution, doesn't that mean then that we actually have a large amount of beneficial bacteria in the substrate? And is that substrate capable of providing a home to enough beneficial bacteria where all your filters really should be doing is clarifying, just polishing the water? What that means then is that if you have a nice big substrate bed, like a very thick bed of substrate, where the lower part of it has your anaerobic bacteria that could actually consume nitrates, and your top half of it has your regular, beneficial, your aerobic bacteria, you could use your filters just with sponges for polishing and nothing else in them. And so Sharpies, you are just a troublemaker. And damn it, you might be right. You might very well be right. And if that catches on, the media industry is going to really suffer. And okay, so anyway. Okay, let's see here. So people in the saltwater community, they keep very deep sand beds because they want that anaerobic bacteria in the bottom there, and that's giving them to some degree a full cycle, so they can actually have. Now, GP Gurvinder Parmar said that in order to get anaerobic bacteria, water flow needs to be at 50 gallons per hour or less. So the immediate thought I would have on that would be, okay, so here we're buying filtration, canisters and things of this nature, partly based on wanting to have a high, just a high amount of water flow. We want that 500 gallon per hour turnover, blah, 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 blah. So, however, isn't it true that you're getting that deep inside the media? Or even, is the, and I'm not an engineer here. I'm not someone who's an expert, a complete expert. So if I'm completely off base here, you tell me. But even in your substrate, isn't the oxygen and because the movement at the top, but then as you get down lower in that substrate, you're going to have less movement. So in your canister, on the outsides of your media, you're going to have rapidly moving water, but deep inside that media, things are not going to be moving. Deep inside, they're going to be moving much slower because of the resistance created by the media. So don't we, in fact, have 50 gallons per hour or less movement in the middle of the media? Let's say the middle of a piece of pumice or matrix or biohome or whatever it is you're using. Sponges, maybe not so much because there is a lot of flow through, but even sponges can get areas that become a bit clogged. And then in that clogged area, don't you have reduced gallons per hour? And because of that, couldn't those areas be a home for anaerobic bacteria? Isn't that a possibility? So at any rate, there you go. Fascinating subject, I think, and one that actually could really disrupt this industry. And Cichlid Central said that I accidentally put chlorinated water in my canister after cleaning it, and my biomedia was in it. My tank is now mini cycling. As I said earlier, mini cycling can create mini death. And, it's like being mini pregnant. I mean, you either are or you're not. And so Cichlid Central, if you're still on this stream, tell me how it went. Did your fish do okay? Did they look stressed out? Did they start to look like they were under some type of agony? Let's see here. Sharpie's also mentioned that my sponge filters are all hidden by the best filters you can get, live plants. Now, again, live plants and algae. Those are nature's filters, live plants and algae. And so this is why I keep algae scrubbers, growing algae, because they are a natural filtration, and plants are wonderful. And I agree with you on that. Ed Liberatori. Hi, Ben from Bridgeport, Ohio. I'm not even a cichlid guy, just an aquarium guy, but I've greatly enjoyed your videos. Keep up the, hey, Ed, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that a lot. Now, Sharpie's also mentioned that he was not going to sumps anytime soon. Too much to go wrong and cause floods. Internal filters do me just fine. And I get it. Internal filters like sponge filters, under gravel, box filters, they keep the water contained inside that box, inside the big box called your aquarium. So I get it. There is a risk. However, I do have, if you watch my sump series, I have a playlist on sump setup. You'll notice how I prove that it's almost impossible to flood with the sump. It's almost impossible unless there was a rupture in the sump itself, like the sump cracked or broke. And I guess that could happen in any kind of a situation. And Samir, and I think it's Shekh. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Shamir. What's the best food for cichlids? Cichlid fish, please suggest. You know what? I'm going to let you folks answer that. What do you guys and gals think is the best food for cichlids? You know what I like? I like North Fin, right? I like Extreme, comes highly recommended. ask James Largo over at the Cichlid Shack, and I think Extreme is also being promoted now by Corey up at the Aquarium Co-op. He was even giving away some samples, I think, at some point. And I use a lot of different kinds of food. I also give them frozen krill. I also use the omega-1 frozen cubes. So there's a lot of good quality food out there. See how your fish react, see how your fish look when you feed it to them, and that's your best food. James Rutherford, I've heard you can keep spine eels with Africans. Any idea? James, I don't have any experience in that area, so I would be just guessing. If any of you on the stream right now have kept eels with African cichlids, can you please comment and help James out? I don't know anything about that. I've never kept an eel. They certainly look fascinating and beautiful. I've also heard they can be very aggressive. So I don't know. I really don't know. And from last week, thank you for the super chat, Cichlid Central. And Arnold Degans. Arnold Degans, thank you for that super chat last week. Pengu, Pengu. Ben, can you give me some recommendations for ordering African cichlids online? Those of you who follow my channel, you know who I like. Wonder of Cichlids, right? Cunningham Cichlids. James Largo over at the Cichlid Shack. Live Fish Direct. These guys, they're all legit. I've never ordered from Southeast Cichlids, but I hear they're legit. If you folks, I've heard good things about Ron's. If you folks know some places to order from, go ahead and promote them. This is not like the Facebook page where we only have certain approved people. If you know somebody that you've had firsthand a quality experience, they stood behind their product, and if there was a problem, they fixed it. Imperial Tropicals. I had a DOA one time with that beautiful Jallo Reef, Plastodocomus Jallo Reef in the 60-gallon that has that beautiful electric blue face and gorgeous yellow in the fins. That's from Imperial Tropicals. The first one I got was DOA. No questions asked. I had one like the next day. So if you've had a positive experience, please don't rag on sellers. Just share if you've had a positive experience with anyone who sells fish. Go ahead and post it in the comments, and let's help Pengu out. Things I consider are travel distance, so I try and buy in the winter. I try and buy regionally. Like right now for me, James Largo would be good because it's coming from Arizona. He can put it into a Southwest flight and that morning, and I can go after lunch and pick it up at Burbank Airport. So that's important to me this time of year because it gets pretty cold. In the summer, I'll buy from anywhere. Okay, so just my consideration. Let's see. High Rise 97. Would you think people are crazy if they only had sponge filters only? No hang on back, no canisters, nothing, just sponge. No. You look at the big breeders out there. You look at you look at the tanks over at Cunningham. Look at Cunningham Cichlids. Look at Wonder of Cichlid. You'll see a lot of sponge. You'll see a lot of sponge filters, and you can certainly disguise them with decor, and so I think they're great. Let's see here. A big thank you for Hunter and Alexa's Fish Corner. Hunter and Alexa's Fish Corner. You made a very nice comment last week. I noticed, and I thank you for that. Donnie Brosco, just coming home from picking out some peacocks and haps from Trevor at the Wonder of Cichlids. Couldn't be happier. Donnie, I hate you. I'm very jealous. And how dare you brag? Boy, I wish I lived next to Wonder of Cichlids. I'd have to have another job. I'd have to add another job. And I don't know if my wife would stay with me. Rohan Ferris, hi Ben, huge fan, live in Canada. Just wanted to know, what do you think of using Seachem Vibrant Sea Salt in African cichlid tanks? What do you think about that? Rohan, I haven't used it. I can't comment. I don't use salt on a regular basis. All I use is the Seachem product that adds trace minerals. And I believe they call it Malawi lake salt, but it's not really salt. So if anyone out there has used Vibrant Sea, please comment and help Rohan Ferris out. Hunter and Alexa's Fish Corner, your take on OB eye biters. Mine have grown maybe 3 inches in 3 months. Is that a good growth rate? Well, first of all, eye biters are already, in my opinion, very aggressive. The one in my 150 had to be subdued, had to be heavily subdued by the Venusus before he became relatively peaceful. But and then when you mix them with OB blood, it would seem to me that you have a death cocktail, an aggression cocktail there. But I don't know. I will say this, they're beautiful. They're very striking. Between the shape and the patterns, they're very striking. So I'm not, if I had an opportunity to get one, maybe I would. And I wouldn't hesitate, I don't think. I'd try him out. I can always remove him if he's too aggressive. And 3 inches in 3 months, I think that's good. I think he's growing very nicely. And I'm not sure if the adding of that OB blood is going to reduce their normal, the 12-inch size that they would get if they were a pure eye biter. Maybe that's going to be reduced a little bit through the little genetic engineering that occurred to make them an OB. It'll be interesting to watch to see just how big that guy gets. But they are beautiful. They're very impressive. So let me see if there's a few more questions here. We're already on the hour. Let's see here if there's a few more questions that I can take up. Otherwise, I want to thank all of you for sitting in here today, and also for those of you who super chatted, and for those of you who joined late. We do have the hoodies available with the emblem. The emblem, they are available, and I am going to be doing a little bit of a price reduction, so look for that, and also use your live stream code at checkout for 10%, and you can pick up your hoodie, and you can pick up your sweatshirt. And let's see here if I can scroll here and pick up some more questions. The scroll function here goes through them so quickly that I almost, here we go. Kidneys are teeny girls. Okay, let's see here. GP likes Seachem Stability. I've used Seachem Stability and I had success with it in the cycling of a tank. But full disclosure, I also used established tank sponge filters, and as well as the Seachem Stability. So can I say the Seachem Stability worked entirely? I'd have to do an isolated experiment where I only used that to tell you definitively that it did. But I will say that I didn't have any die-off when I added fish. So in that sense, I guess it was a success. So at any rate, any questions, any super chats, or anything that I missed, I will pick up next week. I want to thank all of you for sitting in today. I do appreciate you. And I believe that's all for me today. I want to thank my awesome moderators who do a great job. And be sure, please, to come by the Facebook. Come join the Facebook page and the Facebook group, ben.o.cichlid. Again, Cichlid's in the name, but we're open to all fish keepers. And also come follow on Instagram, where I post all kinds of stuff, fish pictures and previews and stuff like that. So come on by if you're inclined to. Thank you, Candy. You know we all love you. And Denny and Kevin, you guys are great moderators. And thank you to all of you for joining me. You really do rock, my friends, and I really do mean it. That's all from me today. Thank you so much.